Some of the biggest names in music and entertainment are coming together for an historic festival that will be broadcast across the globe. It's called One World Together at Home. It's being curated by Lady Gaga, and it's being organized by the World Health Organization and the advocacy group, we all know them, Global Citizen. Only on CBS This Morning, Cisco CEO, that's Chuck Robbins, reveals how his company is answering the call for coronavirus help.
Our relationship with Global Citizen started roughly 2 years ago, and we've had a phenomenal partnership since then. And when this crisis began, we began working with them also on how we could respond globally. We made an initial $2 million contribution to the World Health Organization. And as part of One World Together at Home, we're making another $5 million donation to the World Health Organization. We worry a great deal about those people in countries around the world whose healthcare systems can't support a massive outbreak, and we need to get ahead of it. And we also need to celebrate and help those frontline healthcare workers who are out there fighting the fight every day by getting them the appropriate PPE that they need so that they can actually take care of those who are suffering with this virus, take care of them and not feel at risk themselves.
A lot of people using Chuck's company lately. Have you noticed on the screens, you'll see that Cisco WebEx? That's the company he runs. Thank you, Chuck Robbins. One World Together at Home will celebrate healthcare workers and those on the front lines of this crisis. Only on CBS This Morning, we spoke to let's try that again. Only on CBS This Morning, we spoke to actress and philanthropist Priyanka Chopra Jonas yesterday about her role in this huge event.
This show is something completely different from what Global Citizen has ever done, because this is not a fundraiser. This is not us asking you when you're watching a 2-hour concert while all of us are sitting at home to donate money. The idea is to get the private sector to make donations for corporations to help governments and the marginalized in the world and take care of them who don't have the ability to live in homes and self-quarantine, people who don't have the ability to have the privilege of being home.
How do we do that? If we're not raising money, how do we do that?
Well, what Global Citizen does is basically use citizens to implore to governments, to implore to companies, send out emails. So millions and millions of people are asking people to take action, and that's how we're raising the money.
The citizens can then put pressure on the corporations.
That's the idea.
That's what they can do.
What Global Citizen does is use your individuality, use your voice, because each one of us have it, to put pressure on governments, on the private sector to say, you need to do your bit in this.
I say, Priyanka, this coronavirus, COVID-19, it truly is a moving target. And there seems to be new information coming in at all times. Mm-hmm. You can take nothing for granted.
I think it's really, really important for us sitting at home to not panic, because there's obviously going to be a sense of fear. The WHO is the right source. Get your information from them, the CDC, Global Citizen, people that you know will give you correct information instead of feeling stir crazy and panicked at home with all the forwards that we keep getting on social media, etc.
How are you dealing with it? How are you and Nick together as a couple processing this and getting through this?
I think we recognize our ability to have the privilege of being able to stay in self-isolation. We've been spending a lot of time with each other, reaching out to family, friends, making sure we're aware of what's happening in the world, making our contributions, donations, so that we feel like we're actually doing something. And even though we're all sitting at home, our hands are not tied. We can do so much.
You said something that I think is very interesting, Priyanka. And we're still in the early stages, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. You said it's actually a privilege to be able to stay home. What do you mean by that?
A lot of us don't think about this, but the one thing that, at least in our home, I think about a lot, and it helps me from being that person who's like, I'm bored and I don't have anything to do. I think about the fact that I have a home. I have the ability to eat. I have the ability to talk to my family and friends, and they're safe out there. And I feel that that is a privilege, and we need to recognize that individually as well, and kind of help the world get through this together, even in America, not just in low-income countries around the world. I mean, this disease is such a leveler of sorts. It doesn't matter who you are, how much money you have, where you come from, what your race is. Things that divided the world in such a big way all of this time, this disease can get to anyone.
We all know that this is a global pandemic. And I think about people in this country. How do you get people in this country to think of others when they're trying to survive themselves?
I think having lived in India, where survival is what you think of before luxury for a lot of people in the world. I mean, for a lot of people in India. I think it's very important for us to understand that, yes, we are going through what we're going through and, worrying about how we're going to get out of it in America. But I think we have to understand our position in the world, because this is affecting everybody in the same way.
Do you think the world will come back to normal? Do you believe that?
I think it'll be a new normal. No one can define what that will be, but I think it'll make the world curious and thoughtful and think about hygiene and how important that is. I think it'll also be scary after 2 months maybe to come out for the first time, meet people. It's going to take us a little while for the world to come back to normal, and I don't think normal will ever be the same.
You know what, Priyanka, I've been saying it's an equal opportunity heartbreaker. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, it's such a tragic thing to see, like, which is why, like, I feel like what Global Citizen is doing with this show is such an incredible thing.
Your exact role on the 18th will be what exactly? What are you planning to do?
Obviously, I'm not a musician, so I can't be contributing like that. But my idea will be to talk about the private sector contributions that will come in.
I got a suggestion for you. I know you don't necessarily sing, but your husband certainly does. Why don't the two of you do a duet? See?
You kind of sing. I just kind of.
Okay.
I'm really good in the shower. Really, really good.
So does that mean maybe you two could do a duet?
Maybe. I'm definitely going to pull him into the segment for sure. That's happening.
All right.
Don't tell him, though.
Okay.
Don't tell him, though. We won't tell him. You know something interesting, guys? So it'll be on all three networks. Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Kimmel, and Jimmy Fallon are all hosting together. I think that is a cool thing. That hasn't been done before, to see the three of them. I like that.
Yeah, I love it.
That's great. I love the title,
and I love
too.
what she said about appreciating her home. Yeah.
I thought that too. I know, Anthony, I hadn't thought of it that way. It's a different way of looking at it. And I like what she said too. You're sitting at home, but it doesn't mean your hands are tied. I like that. Thank you very much, Priyanka. Yeah. You can watch One World Together at Home next Saturday, April 18th at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 Pacific, right here on CBS and all Viacom CBS networks.